I've had a lot of requests from people asking for me to explain how backhand English or aim and pivot aiming works. So I'm going to try to put together a few demonstrations to show how this works. The whole idea of backhand English kind of stems from the idea of a cue's pivot point. So first we need to understand what a pivot point is and how that's established. So to demonstrate a pivot point, I'll use this striped ball, which will show the spin of the ball. Now if I aim this shot at that piece of chalk, and lining up with centre ball here, then I pivot across with English. Now what will happen is the direction of the cue will influence the ball to travel left of that chalk. But the squirt, which is a characteristic of the cue, will deflect the ball to the right. So depending on the length of the breach here, these two factors will cancel out at some stage. So for my cue, at kind of medium to firm speed, it works out at about 15 inches. So if I line up at that chalk, pivot across, and then stroke straight through, applying English to the cue ball, I will still hit at that location, at the piece of chalk. Now one benefit of using backhand English is that the compensation at the pivot point seems to work pretty well, whether we're using a quarter of a tip of English or out here, which you might call a tip and a half of English, or some people might call it 3 tips, depending on their reasoning. But even if I aim with extreme English, I still get the same point. To explain backhand English a little better, we should show what happens if the pivot point, or if the bridge is placed much closer to the ball. Now when we're not much closer, here we're about 6 inches away, and I pivot across, for the same offset, the angle of my cue is pointing much wider than it was when my bridge hand was at 15 inches. But the squirt will be the same, so we expect the cue ball to travel left of the initial target. Okay, and it was hard to see there, but the cue ball actually hit almost an inch left of the mark. So if we were trying to pot a ball, we would have missed it by quite a bit there. So let's get up even closer to exaggerate this. As we get closer, and then we offset, then we see about 3 inches left of the aim. Okay, to demonstrate the opposite, if we use a longer bridge, okay, so here's my standard around my pivot point, which is around 15 inches for most shots. If I come back here to about 25 inches, then I line up to the chalk. Now, when I move to offset, the cue angle doesn't change significantly, but the squirt will be the same as for the other shots. Okay, so on that shot, the cue ball hit about 1 inch to the right. Now if I extended my bridge length even further back to here, it will go probably further to the right, an inch and a half or so. So somewhere in the middle you'll find a point which corresponds to your pivot point, which is where you can bridge and aim, then pivot, and you'll hit to the same contact point on the ball as you would if you fired straight. Now one thing to keep in mind is tuck and roll. Now this works at this bridge length if I hit straight through the ball. So if I swipe across in this manner, I'll actually add friction to the cue ball and push it toward that direction. So if I line up and then pull this way, I'll actually hit left of my aim point. Right, so when we're looking to play with consistent accuracy with backhand English, it's something to keep in mind that it's a good idea to actually cue straight through the ball to hit your target point. Is that when you're playing softer shots, and it's partly to do with the swerve, but I also believe it has to do with the amount of squirt as well. So when you play very firm, you will have a shorter pivot point if you're hitting the ball very hard. So I'll be up around 11 inches or so if I play this very hard. Now if I'm playing the shot quite soft, again, partly this is due to swerve, but also I believe there's less squirt when you're hitting the ball softer with the cue. So if I'm playing kind of medium speed, I might bridge at around 18, 19 inches. Okay, so now we know about pivot points. Let's demonstrate how this will work in action. Right, now here's a shot, a straight-on shot. Now if I want to pop this ball with English, now I line up this shot at my pivot point, around 15 inches, pivot across and hit with English. Now what will happen is the cue ball should hit the exact same contact point that I was initially aligned to. But because the cue ball will be spinning as it impacts, what happens is throw affects the 3-ball. So the spin will make the 3-ball turn to the left. So what I need to do, if I want to pop this shot with spin, I have to aim to pop the 3-ball to this side of the pocket, maybe into that jaw. And I will hit the contact point aligned to there, but the throw will turn the 3-ball into the centre of the pocket. So one way to do this is to line this up as you normally would straight pop, with your bridge at your pivot length. Now adjust that pot angle. So I've adjusted my bridge. Now I'm pointing to hit that ball into the jaw. And now what I can do is pivot the backhand, keeping that bridge very still, and line up with outside English. Now if I hit straight through that, I'll turn the 3-ball into the pocket. So throw becomes a very important part of using backhand English. It's something you need to make adjustments for continually. The one good thing is that we only have basically a set range of shots that we use with backhand English. So we can learn to memorize most of these shots and how they work with throw, so that we can use backhand English regularly on shots that will benefit our game. So to be able to use backhand English comprehensively, you need to have a good understanding of how throw affects the object ball when you're playing. Because what happens with throws, at various different angles and with different spins, the amount of throw changes. To give you one example, let's say I'm potting this shot, which is a cut shot. And the natural length potting angle, which I would call a kind of medium speed rolling pot with just pure topspin, let's say that angle is here, right? And on this shot, I'm going to hit the contact point there. Now, if I play this with inside English at medium speed, my testing has shown that if I hit the exact same contact point, I will send the object ball basically along the exact same line. However, if I were to play the shot with outside English and hit the exact same contact point, the outside English will turn that object ball significantly, several degrees, so it would miss that pocket by about a pocket's width. So here would be a demonstration, lining up for the natural pot, then pivoting for inside English, playing at medium speed, and you see the ball go straight in the pocket. Okay, this time I'll line up exactly the same. I'll line up to pot the ball with natural follow, and then I'll pivot across with outside English. Now, I know from my pivot point testing before that I will basically hit the exact same contact point, unless I play the shot very slowly, in which case I would swerve and hit it thinner. So I'll hit it reasonably firm so I don't get too much swerve, but I'll apply left-hand English here, which is outside English, and you'll see the 13 ball will go wide of the pocket. Okay, as we move forward towards the fuller contacts, we saw with the inside English at around a half ball cut angle that at medium speed the contact angle required is the same as with natural follow. But if we move the ball fuller, we'll see that the friction will increase and the inside English will start to have a more significant effect. Now we know that from a straight shot, it doesn't matter whether you hit left or right English, they'll both work to turn the ball. Same thing as inside English shots become a more full angle, you'll start to see more effects of the spin affecting the throw. So if I want to play this shot with inside English, I have to actually adjust. So that instead of lining up this 13 to the centre of the pocket, as I would for a half ball shot, I will line this up to the edge of the pocket, because the inside English will turn the ball a little. So here we go, line up. Now I've lined up to the edge of the pocket. Now I'll pivot across for inside English and a medium speed shot, and the ball went right in the middle. But we also have to consider speed as a variable. Now two things happen when we play the shot with speed. The first thing is that we affect the direction of the cue ball. There will be a reduction in any swerve that happens, but also I believe there's an increase in the amount of squirt. Now, also at the object ball, when we hit a ball harder, we increase the speed between the surfaces of the ball. Now this reduces the relative effect of contact-induced throw. So, where normally I would need to aim here at medium speed, with inside English on this shot, when I hit it hard, there'll be less throw. So I can aim pretty much in the centre of that pocket. Okay, there'll be almost an insignificant amount of throw on this shot if I'm hitting it very firm. So for this shot, I aim pretty much to the centre of the pocket, as if I'm playing for natural roll. Okay, and you'll rarely have to hit the ball harder than that. Okay, let's look at some of the useful shots that we can use with inside English. Shots that will come up regularly and that you might want to use backhand English to help to play them more consistently. Now this is a common one. This shot you're cutting the ball back at kind of 3/4 ball angle. Now if you play this with normal topspin, you're finishing over here in the corner. If you want to get your ball into the middle of the table, you've got to play this very firm off this rail, and this path could be blocked. So a good option to play this and get your object ball back out somewhere into the middle of the table or some position you want is to play it with using inside English. So we're going to run through onto the rail, come around these cushions, and depending on how hard we play it and how much English, we can influence and get the cue ball into different parts of the centre of the table. Now I know from experience on this shot and also from theory that I need to aim this 7 slightly left of the centre of this pocket to play this with inside English. So initially I just line up to pop the ball into the centre of the pocket. Okay, with natural follow. Now I'm quite used to lining up this way, so this should be quite accurate. Then I'll adjust slightly to aim to overcut the ball a little bit. Okay, so now I've adjusted. I should be lined up to the left edge of this pocket. Now with that bridge hand in place, I don't even need to look at that object ball anymore. As long as I keep that bridge hand in place, I can just pivot across, line up for inside English or left English on the object ball, and stroke straight through. And you see the object ball comes around nicely into the centre of the table, which is a very useful shot. Okay, we often come up with the other angle, and this is another time when you can use backhand English to your advantage. Okay, if you were playing topspin normally on this shot, you would run through under the cushion and up towards this side rail. And if you're playing backspin, you're coming into this rail, and you could screw across, but a lot of people don't like to play that draw shot. And also the path just may not be available to you. So if I play the shot with inside English, I'll come into this rail, and up around about into the centre of the table. And I can kind of, stop the ball wherever I want accordingly, here, here, here. So I open up a large new area of the table. Now, same as the previous shot, this is an inside English shot, and I know from experience that to make this shot I need to aim just right of the centre of the pocket. Right? I need to aim to overcut a little bit. So again, what I'll do is I'll line up just to put it right in the centre of the pocket with natural roll. Alright, now I should be very accurate at that if I practice a lot. Now I'll adjust slightly to overcut. Alright, so now I should be lined up into the right edge of the pocket. So I'll be hitting a contact point which would send, with natural follow, would send the ball into the edge. But because I'll have inside English on the cue ball, it will throw the 5 ball toward the centre of the pocket. So again, I don't even have to line up the shot again. My bridge hand hasn't moved. So all I will do is line up my cue ball with right hand English and right hand topspin, and the inside English should do its work. And here we have the ball coming through the centre of the table and down to this end of the table. A very useful shot. Okay, a similar shot to this one that we saw that comes up is when the ball's on the rail and people want to move the cue ball around the table. So they get this kind of shot, and it might be half ball, a 3/4 ball, or nearly full ball. But the implementation is basically the same. So on this shot, right, It's a bit thinner, maybe 3/4 ball contact. I know the throw will be quite similar to the throw if I just use natural roll. If it gets thicker, there will be a little bit more throw. Right. So on this shot, I will aim basically into the middle of the pocket, as if I'm hitting it with natural roll. Okay, now I feel like my bridge is a little short, get it to my pivot point. I feel like if I hit that with top spin, it should go right into the middle of the pocket. So I want to play with inside English. I just pivot my cue across. Okay, I can take my cue, my bridge is there, I can wave it around, I can put it back. I don't even have to look at the object ball, and I can just put it straight through. And quite easily, I've got my object ball coming through the centre of the table and coming down to this end of the table without much effort. So that's a very useful shot to utilise, and backhand English, it helps you to align to that shot. Here's another common shot that we get in the game that we might want to use backhand English to help with our position. Right, so on this shot, if we play with top spin, we're coming up this side of the table. If we play with back spin, well, we're coming into this corner, we're not going to get a long way with that. So a lot of people like to play this shot kind of with stun, maybe a little bit of draw into this cushion, and back out into the centre of the table. Which is so you can often get a shot at many balls from the centre of the table. So using English helps turn a lot of these common angle shots into ways to get the cue ball toward the centre of the table. So how do we aim for this? We need to use outside English. So as I explained earlier, outside English on a cut shot will turn the ball significantly. So actually where I need to aim, I noticed from testing and experience, I need to aim the two ball to about here, so that the throw can turn the two ball into the pocket. Alright, so if I was, when I'm lining up this shot, I can initially line up the pot as if I'm going to pot it in the centre of the pocket with natural roll. Right? So if I'm just rolling this shot in, medium speed, right, this will be my angle. Right? But I know if I'm playing this with outside English, this ball would miss to the right. So I need to aim thicker. I need to undercut the ball. So I'll adjust my alignment. So now I feel like I'm lined up. That two ball, if I hit it with top spin, will catch that knuckle of that jaw on the way through. So with that alignment, I pivot across with about a tip of left English, outside English, and stun the ball. Okay. So the object, the cue ball, comes up to the middle of the table, and I make the pot. This is a pot that most people will play by feel. And I suggest that you probably want to play this by feel, but it's very good to understand the effect that throw and squirt and so forth are having on this shot. And it's also, if you're not feeling confident of your alignment one day, or just struggling with the shot for consistency, you might want to go back to basics and check things out. Right? So, one thing you might do is, if you like to just line up to the shot with the English already set on the cue ball, what you can do is check by pivoting across to the centre and having a look to where you're aligned to, and you'll see that you're lined up to undercut the ball. Right, then you can pivot back and say, well, that looks about the right amount of undercut, and as you put more English on it, you need to undercut it more. As you hit it firmer, you need to undercut it less. So you need to work out these variables. Okay, another common shot that you'll find is basically the same angle, but you want to play this with inside English rather than outside English this way. Inside English coming around the other way toward the centre of the table. Now for this shot, If we're hitting it relatively firm, and if the angle is getting up towards 3/4 ball or half ball, then we can aim pretty much at the pocket. As we get softer and straighter, we have to allow for more throw. So let's say I'm a bit straight on this. I'll need to aim this ball into the edge, the right edge of this pocket, to overcut it a bit. So I'll line up as normal to pot in the centre, then adjust so that I'm lined up to the edge. Then I just pivot across and play with backhand English. And you see the ball actually into the left edge still. The throw was significant. Now on this shot, as I increase the speed of the shot, the throw will have less of an influence, so I don't have to aim to overcut it so much. I can aim, if I'm playing it very hard, I'll just aim as if I'm potting it with natural roll into the centre of the pocket. Okay, so now I'm lined up. So with natural roll, it will just be into the centre of the pocket. So I'm lined up, natural roll, and send the ball into the centre of the pocket. So I'm going to play firm. I won't have any influence from throw. And the ball goes straight in the centre. So I can run my ball right around the table, possibly break up a cluster, and I'm still going to be accurate on that shot. Now here's another shot where where backhand English is very useful for lining up. This will be a shot. Say you want to draw back off this shot. Now my angle will be bringing the 12 ball back to about here, and then across over to here. But I may need to be up here on the table for my next shot. So I'll have to play with left-hand English. So hit the rail and turn up this way. So I know from experience that this shot I will aim just fractionally to undercut the ball. When I'm hitting this ball, because I'm hitting this ball reasonably firm, there won't be as much throw. That's why I'm only aiming to undercut the ball a little bit. So if that is at the centre of the pocket, to undercut the ball, I adjust my bridge a little bit left. Right, so now I'm lined up to hit the ball into the left edge of the pocket. And now all I have to do is play draw with left-hand side, stroking straight through the cue ball. And you see the left-hand spin on the ball, and the ball goes into the centre.